Hello and welcome to News at 10 on TV3 and 3FM 92.7. You can also listen to us you can listen to the news on the TuneIn app on your mobile phone. We are also streaming live on your Facebook page. Let's begin with the major news highlights of the day. A survey conducted by Child Rights International in 8 districts of the country has revealed over 2,000 children are involved in Galamsey operation. The Child Rights Protection Organization is calling on government to put up a social protection policy for those affected children as it fights to curb the menace. Residents who are still without power might have to endure a little longer. ECG says it will restore electricity supply to all 6 regions affected by the power surge Wednesday. Earlier today, the Electricity Company of Ghana confirmed it had restored power to 90% of affected areas. More than 200 hawkers at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle have been displaced in Thursday morning's demolition exercise by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. The exercise, according to AMA officials, is to restore sanity on the pavements. And more than 40 aggrieved graduate teachers besieged the Ghana Education Service to demand their 8 months salary arrears. The teachers are asking the Controller and Accountant General through the Ghana Education Service to pay their arrears or risk withdrawing their services for the beginning of the next academic year. Those were our major news highlights. Remember, we're streaming live on our Facebook page, and you can also hear us on 3FM 92.7 as well as on the TuneIn app on your mobile phone. Up next is the big one. Welcome. This is the big one. Now, government has paid only 1 month of the 12-month arrears owed service providers under the National Health Insurance Scheme. Government owes service providers 1.2 billion cedis. Members of the Health Insurance Service Providers Association of Ghana have threatened to start cash and carry if those sums owed their members are not paid. Speaking on the Midday News on TV3, Executive Director of the Christian Health Association of Ghana, Dr. Peter Yeboah, says their creditors and bankers have taken legal action against members for non-payment.
We feel that we've gone beyond the bounds of these pledges and promises. What we will need to salvage the health system from imminent collapse is immediate payment of at least 6 months of the 12-month owed to enable us substantially buy essential life-saving medicines to save mothers, children, the aged. I think that the sense of urgency and crisis consciousness that we expect the government and NHIA to attach to this crisis is not being felt. I think that is very much unfortunate. We need action immediately to salvage the health system.
Right, let's get onto the telephone lines now and speak with Dr. Justice Youngson, who is the Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. Good evening, Doc, and we're grateful for your time. So, would you say, from the way things are going, that the National Health Insurance Scheme is grinding to a halt?
Well, good evening, and good evening to listeners as well. We don't want to really say that it's grinding to a halt, but the truth is that there are difficulties, there are challenges that we need to surmount if we are to keep this noble program running for the people of Ghana by way of health care. As you heard from Peter and all the other players in the industry, the level of indebtedness is beginning to create havoc for people who operate within the healthcare industry. private facilities can't even meet or put their bills when it comes to electricity, when it comes to overhead, salaries, what have you. People are being hounded by their creditors. It's becoming a mess. Within the public sector, sometimes, because these institutions belong to government, you don't hear much. But just like the private sector, the Christian Health Association facilities, the public sector is also really, really under a lot of stress because there are no funds to run the system. I mean, look, for whatever endeavor it is, forget about even health. If for close to a year, you cannot get inflows coming in, it is very difficult for you to operate as a business.
I know the situation at the private hospitals have been, private health facilities have been emphasized many more times. A while ago, you did mention that in public hospitals, the situation is not much felt. But I want us to get a fair understanding of exactly how the situation is affecting operations at public health facilities, healthcare delivery at these places.
Well, I didn't say that the effect is not felt in the public health facilities. What I said is that sometimes you don't hear a lot about the public health facilities, but there are also really under a lot of constraints. The good bit for the public sector is that most times you get wages or salaries being paid by the employer at the end of the month. That is the only difference. But beyond that, in terms of the service provision, what resources you need, the basic consumables and all that, that you need money to run on. These things are becoming a challenge for virtually all the facilities. It is worse with the private because they will have to find money to pay their salaries and other overheads. Salaries for government sector is paid through the controller arrangement. But at the facility level, the basic day-to-day activities, the consumables, the drugs, what have you that you need, those ones are not purchased by government daily. You need to use part of your internally generated resources to run all these things. Beyond that, there are people who are also going to take their salaries from the internally generated funds. So it is becoming a big problem for everybody. And be told, for 12 months, it is too long a period.
The impact on drugs.
We want, if I could just finish. Look, we appreciate that there is a new government to a large extent because it's over a year or a year. You cannot say this government created a problem. But the truth is that governance is a continuum. So once you come in, you inherit the good and the bad. Whatever the liabilities or assets are, you take it on board and make sure you let the system run. And we think that now government has to take a bold decision and ensure that they put in the right measures for this annual ritual or monthly or weekly ritual where everybody is owed becomes a thing of the past. The arrangements that are in place are that within 2 to 3 months maximum, all indebtedness are paid, should be something that is seen to be working. It should be functional. Then these facilities can also get the resources they need, motivate staff and what have you, to ensure that they produce the best services that are available for the people of Ghana to enjoy. The Constitution of Ghana enjoins government to ensure that basic health care, the quality that we all expect, at least with basic health care, is guaranteed. But under these circumstances, we will not be able to meet those constitutional requirements. And as it is said, the wealth of a nation depends on the health of that nation.
So, Doc, let's look at the likely impact of these debts on medicines and drugs. How is this likely going to look like if the service providers stick to their threat of cash and carry?
Well, it is very simple and basic. Look, you have pharmaceutical businesses supplying these hospitals on credit when it comes to drugs. Now they will also need the funds by way of repayment to be able to purchase or import them depending on where the drugs are produced. So if for a whole year you haven't been able to reimburse them, naturally they wouldn't be able to import or even buy from producers who are in country. Beyond that, some of these businesses, both the hospitals and the pharmaceutical entities, have to take loans from banks and other financial institutions to ensure that they are able to bring in these goods and also run a facility. Now, when these monies are not coming in, their creditors will come after them, banks will come after them, some are being sued in court, some are being harassed. Sometimes managers of some of these facilities will just have to play hide and seek games with some of these creditors. And it's not good. Then when we zoom into basic or emergency drugs, that is even more crucial in the sense that under emergency conditions, some drugs that you need, you cannot wait. You cannot even say because of cash and carry, people should go out and look for the drugs and bring them. Sometimes you don't get them easily on the open market. Now the in-house pharmacy departments or shops within the hospital, if they are not well stocked with the necessary drugs, even where a doctor writes a prescription, you go into the hospital facilities, you can't get them. What it means is that you need to bear extra costs, find some transportation, mode of transportation, go into town, look for these drugs and bring them. And sometimes by the time you come back, it could be too late.
Too late.
And for us as doctors, these things are sometimes a bit of a problem for us because you can do so much, but basic things are just not available. And sometimes it's so frustrating.
Dr. Jansen, we're grateful for your time, Dr. Jansen. Thank you very much for joining us. Dr. Justice Jansen is the Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. Now, away from that, the Metro Mars Bus Transit Company says the opposition NDC owes it 1.5 million cedis from bus rental services it offered the party from November to December of last year. The services was for the transportation of members of the party to various parts of the country to cast their vote in the December 2016 elections. Public Relations Officer of the bus company, Bernice Akorgo, says the company has made attempts at recovering the money but have been unsuccessful.
Bernice, can you confirm to us whether the opposition National Democratic Congress owes you?
Yes, Komla, they do.
How much?
We rendered a service for them during the elections. They've made part payments. They are yet to redeem the rest.
How much money are we talking about here, and from what period to what period?
The invoice given them was 1.9 million. They've been able to redeem 410,000. And the service was rendered from November 30th to the 7th of December 2016.
What work exactly were you supposed to do for them for which they owe you?
It was a hiring service, a nationwide hiring service. I think it was to help people move around the country to vote. It was a nationwide assignment.
Okay, so what agreements did you reach with the NDC then in government to pay the money? As you have indicated, they've just paid some 400,000 out of the 1.9 million.
This is not the first time we are rendering such a service to any political party, let me put it that way. We did the same thing for the National Democratic Congress when they had their Congress in Cape Coast. It was done on credit, and then they later on redeemed it. So this is not the first time we are having this, yes. So we trust them. That is why we went ahead with that agreement with them.
Meanwhile, the National Democratic Congress says it is waiting for the Metro Mars Transit Company to justify the 1.5 million debt they claim the party owes a company for services rendered during the election period last year. The party is said to have paid over 400,000 out of the 1.9 million it owed. National organizer Kofi Adam says the company must justify the pro forma invoice as sent to the party.
we didn't hire 500 buses from Metrobus.
How many did you hire?
We didn't hire buses. We went into an agreement with them, passengers, and then we will pay on basis. So at the time of them beginning to enter the service, we didn't know the number of buses that will be available. When they finished, they submitted an invoice, a bill, with a number of buses. I indicated to them at that meeting that we had officers in the region who monitor the activity, and so we are expecting a report from them. They should also go and bring us an itemized bill that indicates that if you say these are the number of buses, which bus went where, and where it picked the people, where it dropped them, for us to be sure, because you don't just bring buses that this number of buses moved without giving us details. They have since not returned with any detailed information.
They indicate they brought a pro forma invoice to you, I mean the party, about this particular figure that you owe them, 1.5 million.
I'm saying it is that pro forma invoice that we ask. There's no, you don't just bring pro forma without details attached. Is that what, if they bring you that, if you were an NDC officer, you just go and pay such bill without details? Is that what you are telling me?
So you're looking for detail before you agree to pay them?
Before you'll be able to pay.
But service was rendered by the company.
Nobody is doubting that such services were rendered. Service was rendered. But how much was rendered must be checked. And it is through an itemized detailed bill that you'll be able to check. Without that, how will you be able to know? And you don't just get up there and go and pay because you've thrown a bill at you. So
if I get an understanding, you doubt this figure that is being thrown at you?
If the figure was correct, we would have just gone ahead to do payment.
I see.
It was, and the officers who came, and then we had discussion, agreed that there was something that they must do with the figure that they brought.
You're still watching News at 10. We're live from the News Hub at Addis Ababa. You can also hear us on 3FM 92.7. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, the maternal unit of the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital will soon be breathing a sigh of relief because the First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo is leading a campaign to raise funds to put up a new maternal block. When completed, the new block will ease the congestion at the unit. Together with the wife of the Vice President, Samira Bawumia, the First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo is hoping to put up an entirely new unit for the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital. This follows congestion at the unit, which forced nurses to put both preterm and sick babies in one incubator and cot. The hospital records an average of 4 deaths at the unit every day, a situation hospital authorities say is very worrying. Dubbed Save a Child, Save a Mother project, the First Lady Rebecca Akufo-Addo at the fundraising ceremony in Accra insisted mothers and babies must not lose their lives out of childbirth. On to some other stories. Young Leaders Ghana is organizing the first ever public lecture on leadership, which will feature presidential hopeful, I prefer to call him that way, and former Vice Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, Accra, Professor Joshua Alabi. The lecture will focus on leaders and how they're using their offices to champion the development of their countries and sub-region. I have in the studio tonight convener of the Young Leadership, Israel Venunye. Yeah, right. Sorry, your name skipped me. Yeah, now, I need to get a better understanding of why the focus first is on Professor Alabi.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Young Leaders Ghana decided to host Professor Joshua Alabi because, first of all, as you are well aware, he is the immediate past Vice Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies. If you are familiar with the story of UPSA, UPSA didn't, was in a very difficult, moment, especially at the time that he was deputy rector, and then he became erected subsequently. And then, you know, we all saw the transformation, you know, that went on in UPSA. Anybody who is familiar with the story of UPSA would point to the legacy that Professor Joshua Alabi, you know,
so
has
you chose him because you feel that he has provided transformational leadership over the period he has been in charge.
There is no doubt to the fact that Professor Joshua Alabi is a transformational leadership, is a transformational leader, I beg your pardon, who has earned the respect of people both within the Ghanaian community and people within the international, you know, spectrum. So for us as at Young Leaders Ghana, we think that having an encounter with the good old prof would give us an opportunity to understand the challenges that he met in UPSA, how he was able to overcome those challenges, the levels of resistance that went into that kind of transformation. We don't believe that the transformation of UPSA and everything that he has achieved as a person was a walk in the park. We don't believe that it was a bed of roses. We believe that there were very difficult moments.
He went through.
So it is important for us as young people to understand how leaders are able to achieve the things that they achieve. It is okay to celebrate people and point to their legacies and say this is what they have done and that is what they have done. But it is equally important for you to understand the processes, the difficult moments, the challenges that they had to face.
And the lecture is expected to focus on leaders and how they are using their offices to champion development of their country. So how relevant is this lecture in our current democratic dispensation?
Well, it is relevant to the point, to the extent that you and I would agree that Ghana still has a long way to go. I, as a young man...
You're suggesting leadership has failed?
Over the period, I think that the verdict is out there. Over the period, I'm not sure all of us are too excited about the levels of development that we have in our country, the speed of development. I'm sure our leaders could have done better. Now, we are particularly excited to host Professor Joshua Alabi, you know, and in relating that to your question, the transformation that took place in UPSA was a tremendous one, was one that occurred over a very short period of time. It tells you that the man had something to offer.
The man had something
there was some level of clear-cut leadership that ensured that these things happened. So for us, you know, leadership is not only about making a name for yourself, but it is also about leaving a lasting legacy and telling your story, and then being a trailblazer in your children's
Israel, we're grateful that you passed through.
Thank you very much for having me.
We wish you the very best in your lecture. It goes on. So away from that, the Ashaiman Municipal Assembly says it will soon drag property owners who fail to provide toilets in their homes to court. Out of over 49,000 households, only 18% have toilet facilities in their homes in the municipality.
The Ashaiman municipality, according to the 2010 Population and Housing Census, has a population size of 190,972, representing 4.8% of the Greater Accra region's total population. The municipality has more than 49,000 households with an average household size of 3.7 persons per household. Only 18% of the households have toilet facilities in their homes. This situation has resulted in the practice of open defecation in some communities in the municipality. The municipal planning officer, Michael Ajuman, who spoke to TV3 on the sidelines of a town hall meeting in Ashaiman, disclosed that the assembly will have no choice but apply sanctions to houses that do not have toilets as per the National Building Regulation and the Act 462 that governs the assembly.
We are giving them maximum to the next 3 months for you to start effective prosecution. For that one, if they don't do it, all the households that they are supposed to have the household toilets and then they don't have it, we begin to prosecute them.
Michael Ajuman wants property owners to take advantage of the toilet at half price under the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area Gamma Sanitation and Water Project.
We're also trying to communicate to the people that the cost of they attending to public toilets, if they're able to add it up and save the money, and then do the effort and construct their own toilets, it's even far, far cheaper.
He disclosed that under the project, 182 toilets have been constructed so far, with 13 under construction, and 220 households still making payment in installment.
The issue about open defecation is there. It's something that we have registered, and we know some areas that they do open defecation. The study showed that about 18% of the household have approved household toilet.
Ghana loses 1.13 billion every year in addressing the issue of open defecation, while 3,600 children under 5 die annually from diarrhea, with over 5 million Ghanaians practicing open defecation. Ghana has also been ranked 7th as the country with the lowest sanitation coverage.
Very gory images there, but that's how we draw the curtains for News at 10. Thanks for staying with us, and for those who listen to us on radio, thank you for leaving your dial there. I'm Stephen Enti. On behalf of the crew, good night. There is more news at 3news.com.